What's up, YouTube? I'm back at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to do my preview and my prediction of the Alabama versus LSU matchup. Huge matchup. College football rankings just came out yesterday. And you got the number 11 Alabama going against the number 15 LSU Tigers. A lot of things are at stake right now in this matchup. More likely, whoever wins this matchup still has playoff chances to get in the playoffs. Uh, the losing team probably out of playoff contention. So a lot at stake in this matchup. You got two powerhouses, man. Alabama versus LSU. Uh, both teams recruit at a very, very high level. And like I said, it's a lot of things on the line. Playoffs, recruiting, everything. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get into the stats and I'll give you a couple things. What to look for in this matchup against Alabama and LSU. I'm gonna start with Alabama stats. Alabama has been shining on both sides of the ball. Ranking number 16th best in scoring offense. They're scoring 37.6 points per game, and they're 19th best in scoring defense with 18.6 per game. So not where Alabama wants to be, but pretty decent stats. And also the Crimson Tide are scoring 37.6 points per game this season so far. So that's really, really good. And they're only 14.8 more than the Tigers are giving up. So that's going to be an interesting stat to look at in this matchup against the LSU Tigers. So basically saying, Alabama is basically averaging like at least two more touchdowns more than LSU's giving up. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to read LSU's stats and give you the other side of that. LSU is ranked 34th in FBS, and they're averaging 32.8 points per game. So, and on defense, they're ranked 54th, only surrendering 22.8 points per game. So that's really, really good as well. The Tigers are averaging, like I said, 32.8 points per game, and that's 14.2 more than the Crimson Tide are surrendering, which Alabama is only surrendering 18.6. So as you can see, both of these teams are pretty much, equal on both sides of the ball. Very similar stats. And even at the quarterback position, you got two guys. At the quarterback position, when they're on, they're doing a really, really good job. But they also are prone to turn the ball over. So it's a lot of implications in this matchup. I feel like it's going to really come down to who can implement play, penalty free and not turn the ball over. Just like in every game, turn the ball over can be huge, it can be a huge momentum, for the other team to be able to capitalize off. So both quarterbacks are going to be tasked with not turning the ball over to win this matchup. Here's another stat for LSU. At home, LSU averages more points, 40 per game, than it does overall, 32.8. It also concedes fewer points at home, which only surrendering 16 points at home than it does overall, 22.8. So LSU has an advantage, it seems, playing at home. It's going to be very, very interesting. They're only allowing just 16 points in that stadium. The stadium is going to get really, really loud, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens in this matchup. Of course, LSU on the offensive side of the ball, they got Kyron Lacey, really, really good wide receiver. I'm sorry. That guy, man, definitely their bell cow on offense. And like I said, it's gonna be very interesting to see if LSU can get those wide receivers open, against Alabama's young secondary. Granted, Alabama's secondary is getting better, in spots, but this is going to be a really, really good gauge of how well Alabama has, improved defensively. I know LSU is going to be out one of their offensive tackles, man, a really, really good player, and that's a huge blow to LSU. And also, they took a huge blow early on in the season with Harold Perkins on defense. He's not playing this season; he's out for the season. So defensively, they took a hit there, but they have been getting better, you know, um, defensively, which is going to help them, offensively. Um, another thing, both teams kind of tend to not run the ball as much, as you would expect. Alabama has a really, really talented running back room as well as LSU. Both teams, for some reason, just don't seem to commit to the run. A lot of passing downfield, and it's going to be very, very interesting to see in this matchup what happens. One player that I think Alabama was really two, like I said, Kyron Lacy, but another player that Alabama has to watch out for is Aaron Anderson. Um, this guy was at Alabama. I feel like we underutilized him. Really, really speedster guy you can probably put in the slot. So I'm definitely going to be looking at that matchup. Can the Alabama defense, some kind of way contain LSU's wide receivers? They have a really, really good wide receiver core. Going to be very, very interesting against this young secondary. On the flip side, Alabama has brought in some younger guys to come in. Grayson Hubbard, he came in, got a interception in that matchup against Missouri. Um, kind of like a guy that I feel like can fill in that spot next to Malachi Moore. Just come in. Alabama won't have Keon Saab, so he definitely stepped up. So, like I said, got some young guys back there that's stepping up. Xavier Brown, he got an interception on the season, as well as Jalen Barkway. So they're going to be tasked with trying to contain this LSU offense. Man, they're really, really good on the back end, wide receiver. So um, it's going to be a huge test for Alabama on the road. Alabama on the offense, of course, Jalen Miro. I feel like the offense is going to go through him. Uh, it all depends on him if he's going to have a good game or not. Um, when he's on, though, Alabama offense can score on anybody. But what Jalen Miro are we going to get in this matchup is going to be very, very interesting. But with Nick Sheridan, I feel like he doesn't have to put all of the pressure on Jalen Miro. We have talented running backs in Jam Miller, and we also have um, Justice Haynes. And I'm going to read a couple more stats on that. In 8 games for the Crimson Tide, Jalen Miro has led the way with 1,942 yards. He's averaging 242.8 yards per game while putting up 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 67.6 completion percentage. So, like I said, not bad. It just, like I said earlier, got to put a hold on the turnovers, man. I feel like, those turnovers cost them the game against Tennessee, which a game I felt like Alabama could have won. The defense gave the ball to the offense 3 different times, and Alabama never capitalized on it. And I think that was the nail in the coffin for Alabama to lose their game. So if the defense were to get turnovers in this matchup, it's going to be imperative that Alabama can convert those to points. So that's something that you got to look at going forward. Miro has made a difference with his legs, and he has 380 yards on the ground rushing with 12 touchdowns in 8 games. So that's another thing I feel like Jalen Miro is going to have to do. He's going to have to utilize his legs, basically like he did last year against LSU. That was the game last year that Alabama utilized his legs, and that was a big factor in Alabama win that game last year. I'm sorry. So can Alabama scheme a game plan? Quarterback runs. Mix it up. And another thing, I feel like Jalen needs to take off running. If it's nothing downfield, scramble out that pocket, or at least step up in the pocket. And read your defense. I feel like he's inconsistent with going to his second and third. Read. So he's definitely gonna have to do that in this matchup. For Ryan Williams, on 61 targets, Ryan Williams has 35 grabs for 4.4 per game, for which he's averaging 4 carries a game, or receptions a game. I'm sorry, for 702 yards and 7 touchdowns in 8 games. Last couple games, he hasn't been getting touchdowns like that, and you can see teams are starting to either double up on him and stuff like that. But that's to be expected. and it's going to be up to Jalen Miro to spread the ball around. But 702 yards on the season with 4 receptions a game, so that's really good, for Ryan Williams. So he's definitely going to be a playmaker for Alabama. I feel like in this matchup. Jam Miller, he's ran for 450 yards, and he had 7 touchdowns on the season. He's definitely that north-south guy. But we also have Justice Haynes. He's done a pretty good job as well. He's rushed for 345 yards, and he's averaging 6.4 yards a carry with 5 touchdowns. And also with Miller, he has 6 receptions and has 52 yards and 1 touchdown. So definitely 2 running backs that can catch the ball out the backfield. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if they can get that going in this matchup against LSU. Like I mentioned, LSU is going to be really, really good up front on the defense, and I think they can scheme up some pressure. So if you get Jalen Miro in a spot where don't get him in a position where he has to sit back there and pass the ball like he did against Tennessee. I think that was a really, really bad game plan. They didn't utilize his legs, so definitely gonna have to do that in this matchup against LSU. Another thing, the pass catching skills of Justice Haynes could be, something that can be, used in this matchup against LSU. LSU is kind of susceptible to the run a little bit, and they have struggled with, the pass a few times, during the season. But if you mix it up with the pass and the run, I think, that'll be a big challenge for LSU. Like I said, running quarterbacks, Jalen Miro can run the ball. In the last couple of games, LSU has started to look like they're, able to handle that, kind of contain, running quarterbacks. But against Texas A&M, I forgot the quarterback's name, Reed, his last name Reed. That guy, he was a contributing factor in that matchup while LSU lost. So we don't know yet if LSU can really, really stop a quarterback run, but who can? I mean, it's always a problem for any team in college football to be able to stop a running quarterback, because that's just an extra dude that you got to account for. So it's going to be very interesting, this matchup, to see, if LSU can kind of contain, Jalen Miro. More stats for LSU. LSU's leaders, Garrett Nussmeier, has 20 touchdown throws and 9 interceptions in 8 games, completing 62.5 of his throws for 2,627 yards, and he's averaging 328 points per game. So a guy that can sling the ball around. Like I said, Alabama's defense is going to be tested, no doubt. It's going to be very interesting if he can kind of not, throw as many, interceptions in this matchup as well. Like I said about Jalen Miro, he's going to have to be able to protect the ball and not turn it over. He's also rushed for 12 yards and 3 scores. So even though he's not as, dynamic as Jalen Miro when he runs, he does have 3 touchdowns, rushing this season. So it's going to be very, very interesting if Alabama can contain him. Same thing like I was saying about Jalen Miro. Make sure, they play their gaps and make sure Nussmeier can't, break one out of the pocket, because he's able to do it as well. Caden Durham has run for 402 yards, and he has 6 touchdowns in 8 contests. Like I said, this guy is a really, really good running back for LSU. It's just LSU doesn't really, run the ball, but I expect them to do that in this matchup against Alabama, because Alabama has been successful to the run as well. So I've been prone to give up, huge plays. So Alabama has to, play their gaps, because Caden Durham is going to be able to run that ball. And he also has 14 receptions for 204 yards and 2 scores. So just like on Alabama's side, this is a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield and be just as dangerous. So Alabama's going to have a task on their hands, with this LSU offense. And like I was saying earlier about Kyron Lacy, he has 41 receptions for 618 yards, and he has 6 touchdowns and 8 contests. So definitely gonna have to watch out for him and Aaron Anderson, man. Those 2 guys, man, Speaking of Aaron Anderson, he has 36 catches for 614 yards, so with 4 touchdowns. So those two playmakers, man, and and also Caden Durham, man. Those three guys on the offense side of the ball is going to be very, very tough for Alabama to stop. So intriguing matchup, man. I saw uh, some stats where people were saying, they're giving the line on the game. I saw somewhere the line was like, I think it was like 2.5, maybe 3 points for Alabama in this matchup. If I had to give my prediction for this game, this is going to be a tough environment for Alabama. Alabama has lost uh, two road games, SEC road games on the road so far. They lost to Vanderbilt on the road, and they also lost to Tennessee on the road. Tennessee, a very, very loud environment. LSU is going to be no different. It's going to be tough, and it's a night game. Uh, I thought I saw a stat where it said Brian Kelly is like 13-0 or something like that in night games. He just doesn't lose night games, and that's a very, very big stat that I think a lot of people are not looking at. Um, and he's also coming off a bye week. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what type of LSU team we see. But if I had to give my prediction, I'm picking Alabama to win this matchup. And the reason why, I think LSU not having their tackle or offensive lineman, I might be wrong. I think it's a tackle that's out for this matchup. That was a huge blow for them. We all know how important it is, and especially us Alabama fans, we understand. Not playing one of your best offensive linemen in the game can be a disadvantage. We saw it in our matchup against South Florida. We didn't have Elijah Pritchett out there. We had a young freshman out there, and he looked really, really bad for us. But nevertheless, we was able to win. But I think that's going to be a huge blow to LSU. I do think this game is going to be close, though. I think LSU will be able to put themselves in position to score, but I don't think they'll be able to score enough. I think Alabama, if they can calm their nerves, if Jalen Milroe doesn't get rattled, and that's a big if, because I feel like he got rattled in that matchup against Tennessee. It's going to be very, very interesting to see, and I think him having that experience against Tennessee, I think he's going to come in this matchup better prepared. Also, I think Alabama, coming off a bye week, I think they're going to perform at a very, very high level. We saw when they had a bye week before Georgia, and they came out, and a lot of people forget that that Alabama, what they did in that first half against Georgia. Granted, Georgia came back in the second half, but we're going to really, really see if Alabama could come out firing on all cylinders. I think for both teams, having a bye week and getting things together, I think this is going to be a highly competitive matchup. I think it's going to be back and forth. But I got Alabama winning. I just think, with the playmakers that they have, and I think Alabama started to get a little run game started against Missouri. I think they're going to bring that into this next matchup. And in conjunction with, Jalen Milroe running, I think it's going to be a little bit too much for LSU to handle. LSU has shown the ability to slow down a running quarterback, but can they do it consistently? I don't know. And we all can agree that Jalen Milroe is probably the most dynamic running quarterback that they will go against this season. And the same can be said on both sides. This is going to be the most talented roster that either team have seen. So I'm picking Alabama in a close one, though. I think LSU is going to give us a scare, but I think Alabama goes on the road and beats, Brian Kelly, and ends that streak of him winning at home, at night. But it's gonna be tough one, man. I could be totally wrong about this. It could be, all. If you look at it, it looks like LSU, is prone to win this game, and all the odds are against them in this matchup. Because there are a lot of people picking Alabama, but The game is on the line. I think Alabama's going to come through for the Crimson Tide. I think they're going to get it done. But what do you guys think? Leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And once again, if you haven't, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll definitely be back with more college football content. Thanks, guys, and roll tide.